On the day that Charlie Kirk was taken, something shifted in America. It wasn't just the devastating tragedy itself, it was what came after. The reactions were darker than most people realized, and they exposed a terrifying truth. An invisible line has been crossed, and this cycle is only gonna get worse, especially if Christians don't choose to respond differently than the rest of the world, because these reactions have been absolutely horrific. Now, before I even get into it, I just need to say the obvious. I don't care what you believe politically. When someone is attacked like that for voicing their beliefs, it's not a partisan issue, it's a human issue. And honestly, it's been both frightening and depressing to realize where our country is headed, because the way that some people have been responding to this has been both scary and infuriating. I mean, just take a look at this. We have people chanting and laughing about it on a street corner. And no, that's not an isolated case either, because across social media, there's countless videos of people celebrating, cheering, and even expressing joy that Charlie was attacked. And some on the right have even responded to the attack by calling for war, with some even making videos like this.
This video's in regards to Charlie Kirk, and this video's for the fucking liberals. It's war, motherfuckers. We're coming for you. We're coming for you. And spare me your fucking self-righteous bullshit lectures. I don't give a fuck. We're coming for you.
And countless comments on the video show that he's not alone, with even some posting pictures of Jesus echoing Trump saying, "Fight, fight, fight." Now, this is not to say that both sides are equally wrong. They aren't. But both reactions should still worry those of us who live in America. But all of this has gotten even worse due to the false information being passed around. Because when it all went down, people were calling for this man to be found because they believed that he was making hand signs signaling the shooter. But what most people don't know is that this is actually a good friend of mine, Frank Turek, who was not only very close with Charlie, but was also trying to help Charlie and get him into the car. So as a result of this false information, people were actively looking for Frank, thinking that he was in some way responsible for what happened to Charlie.
Thanks, Frank, for having me on, and you're a great friend. Your texts are always so encouraging, and it's nice to have a couple friends right now, and you're one of them, so thank you. It's really touching.
And the same thing happened with claims that the shooter was trans. Tons of photos started going around, posts were going viral, and they were wrong. So sharing false information like this isn't just embarrassing, it can actually be dangerous, which is why James told us to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. But in moments like this, a lot of us did the literal opposite. We were slow to listen, quick to speak, and quick to anger. But here's what makes this even more complicated. I actually saw a lot of the leading liberal and atheist voices crying over the situation and denouncing violence at all costs. But in response to their videos, and when known Democrats like Obama or Kamala tweeted out condemning the violence, they were met with almost universal hate and blame for what happened. And at the same time, some famous influencers who identify as Christians responded by echoing the same sentiment as Matt Walsh did here.
I've seen some in the media now saying that we need to turn down the temperature and start having conversations. It's too late to turn the temperature down. This is not a time to hold hands. It's a time for justice. This is a time for good to fight back against evil. It is time for the righteous to prevail.
Okay, now first, to be clear, I completely get and understand Matt's anger. Personally, I have a lot of mutual friends with Charlie, so I know what he meant to people, and losing someone like that is painful. So Matt is likely reacting out of pain and anger, and being angry at a situation like this is not just understandable, but necessary. We should be angry when something like this happens. But as Christians, our response shouldn't be the same as the world. And I have seen countless conservative influencers who publicly claim to be Christians that have not only reacted just like the world, but in some cases, even worse than the world in posts that I can't even show here. One of the reasons why this is so disturbing is because if we choose to represent Christ publicly, it shouldn't be the liberals and the atheists calling for peace, while some of our conservative voices are rejecting the peace and calling for war. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that those that want to harm us are not a genuine problem, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't seek justice. But what I am saying is that, as Peter says, we shouldn't repay evil for evil, but repay it with blessings. And we shouldn't be calling for mob violence as our means of justice. So for those of us that are Christians, yes, pursue justice through the law, but don't forget that vengeance belongs to the Lord. And if there were ever a moment when taking matters into our own hands could have been justified, it was when the only truly innocent man to ever exist in history was unjustly killed. And remember how Christ reacted. He said that if his kingdom were of this world, his servants would be fighting. but his kingdom is not of this world. And as Christians, we're called to follow the ways of Christ, not the ways of the world. So I want you to ask yourself this. When you listen to your favorite Christian or political podcast or influencer or whatever, do you find yourself growing in the acts of the flesh? These are things like hatred and discord, or in other translations, stirring up division, or fits of rage, or factions, groups of people who take sides against others and break down unity. If you find these sorts of things growing in you, then the content that you're consuming is poison to your spirit. Instead, we should be taking in content that brings out the fruit of the Spirit. Things like love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And if you notice an increase in these things, that's the type of content that's edifying and good for your soul. The truth is, it shouldn't shock us when the world responds to politics in the flesh, since they might place their hope in this world and the kingdoms of this world. But for Christians, our ultimate hope is in Jesus' kingdom. So when our responses look just like the world's, we traded our witness for tribal loyalty. So in the end, we should all be angry at what happened to Charlie, whether we agreed with him or not. A human life was tragically taken, and a family is now without a husband and a dad. So this should make us angry, and it should make us sad. But we should also keep in mind that Paul reminds us that we don't grieve as those without hope. Our ultimate hope is in the presence of God because of his incredible grace. And that hope should make us slower to speak, quicker to listen, slow to become angry, and that's what should mark Christians in moments like this. Hope. A hope that frees us to respond differently than the world. So pray for Charlie's family and all those who were involved, and I'll see you guys next time.